And a good afternoon, boys and girls, and mommies and daddies, and grandmommies and grandpuppies. Um, Wednesday, I kind of got carried away and forgot completely that it was Wednesday. I do apologize. So I had a really good story for Friday. And I don't know how many of you were aware of it, but Friday, the Facebook was down. I don't know when it started and I don't know when it ended. It ended sometime, I believe, Saturday night or maybe Saturday afternoon. I'm not really too sure. And I don't get on Facebook very often. I used to, but one year, one Lent, I gave it up for Lent, and it was easy. It was easier than I thought it was going to be. And so I don't go on too often. You would think that I would go on 3 times a week, that I would stay on for the rest of the afternoon. And that's one of the problems. I do stay on too long. It's ridiculous. So if you were on Friday and didn't know that it was off, then you were reading other stuff that you had never read before. And you know how it does repeat every so often that you did read this the other day, but that's because other people have posted it, so you don't notice these things. But if you try to go on live, it just sits there and spins around. And I was told about this from my I call her my adopted daughter in Pennsylvania. But sometimes she has trouble with her phone, and so I thought, well, that's her phone, and so I will try to get on. Well, I found out that it was just all over. And there's also an interesting thing that some of you people might like to know. There is a website called Down, Down. I shouldn't have said this. Detected. Down Detected. And it will give you the websites that are down for the moment. Now, it's kind of confusing to read because they don't tell you why, they don't tell you for how long, they don't tell you anything. They just give you the logo, we'll save Facebook, and then you go on. But it is an alphabetical order. However, I've finally figured this part out by looking at it a couple more times. You go from A to Z. And of course, there's not going to be that many. So then it starts over another A to Z. So I'm kind of thinking that each day is an A to Z. Okay. Kind of thinking that each day is an A to Z. So maybe you can count backwards and see, you know, when it's the day that you're on. I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's very informative. The other day, Sunday or Saturday, I was counting just the websites that I knew that they were legally, a website, or the ones that I use. And the funny thing about it was there was 9 banks and 5 airlines that were down. That's kind of scary. That's kind of freaky. So I just thought maybe you guys might like to look into that. Down Detected. So back to piggies. Now Miss Eileen, their teacher, said, all right, boys and girls, you know what today is. Today is test day. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Some of the kids had studied and some hadn't studied and some forgot it was test day and some remembered it was test day, so they really studied hard. So they turned all their papers in. Excuse me. And Miss Eileen says, okay, I'm going to take them home tonight and I'm going to grade them. And this was a history test. Now, in the first grade, you don't have too much history to learn. Just a few little words about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and maybe a couple more people, and that's about all you have to learn. However, if you haven't figured out yet, their school, even though it's a small school and it's at the edge of town, it's got town is here, and then the woods is here, and so the school is kind of in between, more on the town side than it is on the woods side. You know what I mean? So their school is quite I'm sorry, progressive, and these kids are really smart. These kids are really smart, and it's a good school. So she took the papers home and she graded them, and she came to Little Bad Wolf's paper, and he's always one of her best students. Don't know how, because he lived by himself for so many years, and he didn't have books in his little cave, little thingy that he lived in. He didn't have electricity. He didn't have anything. But he was a smart little booger. And she's reading his answers, and they're just not making any sense. So she called Mommy Piggy, and she said, "Hi, Mommy Piggy, this is Miss Eileen." And Mommy Piggy first thought, uh-oh, what has Piggly and Wiggly done now? Uh-oh. And so she said to Miss Eileen, "Okay, what have the boys done?" And Miss Eileen laughed, and she said, "Nope, the boys haven't done anything." She said, "I'm calling you about Little Bad Wolf." "Little Bad Wolf?" Mommy Piggy answered. "Yes. Before I call Mrs. Farmer Brown, I wanted to talk to you." And Mommy Piggy says, "Oh, okay." She thought, what in the world? And so Miss Eileen said, "Is there anything troubling the Little Bad Wolf? Is he okay?" And Mommy Piggy says, "Well, yes, I think so. He was over here to play today after school because they didn't have any homework. And they boys always get together and they play. The fact is, I think they went down to the river and went swimming. Allie was with them, and Patty was with them, and Sally was with them. Sadie can't come. She's just a little itty-bitty thing, So she's not big enough to come with the big kids." So Miss Eileen says, "Well, we took the test today for history." And Mommy Piggy says, "Oh boy, I know that." She says, "I had to ask them all the questions before we left for school today." And Miss Eileen says, "Yeah." She says, "Well, your kids did good." And she says, "Usually it's always Little Bad Wolf and Allie the alligator, and your three boys, they're always the top test scores in my class. They're the top kids. Patty comes right up underneath that, and so does Sally. And then the rest of the kids from town." But she said something was wrong with Little Bad Wolf's test paper when I was grading it. And Mommy Piggy says, "Oh dear, what was wrong?" And Miss Eileen says, "Well, he didn't have one right answer. And the answers that he gave were just really strange and didn't make any sense. It was just like he was just writing words down just to make a paper full of words." She says, I don't know what to do." And Mrs. Mama Piggy, she says, "Now, I can tell you right now what to do." She says, "You call Mrs. Farmer Brown and you tell her exactly what you told me. She will not be upset. She'll be upset wondering what's wrong with Little Bad Wolf, but she won't be upset with you or with him." And Miss Eileen says, "Are you sure?" And Mommy Piggy says, "I'm sure. Now you hang up and you call Mrs. Farmer Brown." So Miss Eileen hung up the phone. And she turned around and she called Mrs. Farmer Brown. Mrs. Farmer Brown had just come in because since little Piggy, or I'm sorry, since little Bad Wolf and Allie and Piggly Wiggly and Squiggly all got together to go swimming, she went to town to buy something special for supper because she knew, hold on, oh, I hope that noise doesn't start up. We're having where I live, we're having our trees trimmed, and they do a horrible job, and it's loud. So if you hear anything, I'm sorry. So Mommy Piggy had went to town to buy something special for supper, and she knew that Little Bad Wolf liked salmon, and Mr. Farmer Brown liked salmon, and she liked salmon. Oh my gosh, sakes, it was going to be such a good supper. So she bought the special supper because she knew that Little Bad Wolf would be tired from taking his test, and she wanted to perk him up and to make sure that he knew that they loved him very much and they were so happy that they had adopted him, and so she wanted him to know that. Well, phone rang, and she says, oh. She looked at the phone and it said Miss Eileen. She goes, well, I wonder what Miss Eileen wants with me. So she picked up the phone and she says, hello. And Miss Eileen says, Mrs. Farmer Brown, this is Miss Eileen. She said, yes, ma'am, I know it's you. She says, it said so on my phone. And Miss Eileen says, oh, okay, you got me in your address book. And she said, yes, I do. She says, what can I do for you? And Miss Eileen says, well, you can tell me if there's something bothering Little Bad Wolf. Mrs. Farmer Brown, she said, no, not that I know of. She says, what's the matter? And Miss Eileen explained to her, just like she did Mommy Piggy, she said, well, we had our test today in history, and Little Bad Wolf, he's one of my top students. He always makes A's, and I'm just so proud of him. But he just wrote words down on his paper, and it was just like he was making up the answers, and they didn't make any sense. It was just like he was writing words to fill up the page of paper. She says, I think there's something bothering him. Do you know what it could possibly be? And Mrs. Farmer Brown says, wow, I don't know. She said, I'll have to talk to Mr. Farmer Brown and see if we can't figure out. She said, can I get back with you tomorrow after school? And Miss Eileen says, please do. She says, because I don't want Little Bad Wolf to get off track because he's such a good student and I want him to stay that way. So if you can get back to me, I'd appreciate it. Well, Mrs. Farmer Brown started supper. And there was a little rap on the door. And she thought, who can that be? And before she could get to the door opened and there stood her daughter, Wendy. Wendy had surprised her and not told her or Mr. Farmer Brown that she got some time off from her new job because she just finished college and she's got a nice job. And so she had gotten some time off and she decided to come home to spend the weekend at home. So Mrs. Farmer Brown says, oh, Wendy, and she gave her a great big hug and a great big kiss. She says, I'm so glad to find you home. I have a problem. And so she told Wendy all about Little Bad Wolf, and something was troubling him. They didn't know what it was, and he didn't pass his test in school. And Wendy, she says, but Mama, she says, I thought you told me that Little Bad Wolf was smart. And Mrs. Farmer Brown says, Little Bad Wolf is smart, but something happened that something's bothering him, and I don't know what to do about it. So Wendy suggested that they have a nice supper and that they don't you know, don't call attention to Little Bad Wolf that he made a bad grade. Just play like that you don't know anything about it, and we'll just see. She says, and I'll talk to him too. Well, they had a great big supper. It was so nice, and it was nice and fun to have Wendy at the table. And Little Bad Wolf was laughing because Wendy was telling jokes. But there was a different kind of laugh. It was just where usually Little Bad Wolf laughed, ho, 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 ho. He was a big laugher. Even at the first grade, he was a big laugher. And this time he was just going, so we will find out Wednesday what is wrong with Little Bad Wolf. Or is there anything wrong with Little Bad Wolf? How come Little Bad Wolf got a bad grade? Allie the alligator didn't get a bad grade. Wiggly, Piggly, and Squiggly didn't get a bad grade. Patty Pig didn't get a bad grade. Sally Skunk got 1 point lower than everybody else, so she didn't get a bad grade. Wonder what's going on. Do you know? So, GrandMommy will be back Wednesday with the answer to Little Bad Wolf and his problem. What happened? Why is he upset? Why didn't he pass the test? And Miss Eileen is going to let him take that test again if she finds out what's wrong. Why is he troubled? Why is he being bothered by something? She's going to let him take the test again, but she hasn't told him yet. And so we'll find out all about it Wednesday. So boys and girls, mommies and daddies, grandmommies and grandpuppies, please push the like button. Please push the share button. And I would love to have your comments on this story or another story or what you did when you were a kid. Did you have a favorite tree to climb up to? Or did you have a fence that was running around your house and you had to go paint it? What did you do when you were little boys and girls? I would love to know that. So, we will see you Wednesday. All right. Bye-bye. Well, there. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious.